Oh, I hope this works. Hi, I'm Wolf, and I'm gonna do the thing. Today I'm gonna be learning to recycle by stabbing. In other words, Sashiko. So I figured I should start with a small project, like a little pouch, which is why I have a zipper. I bought 3 colors of Sashiko thread, a pack of Sashiko needles from Olympus. I have a book that I actually read this time. A pair of pajama pants that I sewed for myself a while ago, and I loved them, but the fabric is terrible and it ripped, and now there's a hole for a very big tail in the middle. So these are gonna be my lining pieces. I have a pair of jeans that I was convinced were dark blue, which is why I bought these colors. So we'll see how that goes. So in case you're wondering, which you probably aren't, but in case you are wondering why I'm doing Sashiko, I hate hoops. I hate them. It's not the hoops, it's me. All right, I just don't like hoops. Don't tell me to use Q-snaps, it's the same problem but bigger. And Sashiko does not need hoops. I need those, they're punch needle hoops. So as I mentioned, I'm making a pouch. It's gonna be a bit difficult to explain, so you're gonna have to bear with me. And the first thing I have to do is a bunch of math. Do you know math? Will this even work? It should. Maybe. We're gonna find out. So I started by drawing the pattern on paper, and then promptly remembered I didn't iron the fabric, so I went and did that. Then I cut off the seam allowances I left on the patterns because I realized it's going to be a lot easier to stitch exactly where I want to if I draw it directly on the fabric. Now for this bottom panel, I decided to go with the Raimon Moyozashi pattern. Moyozashi is just a type of Sashiko pattern, and the Raimon is a lightning spiral, which was presented as the easiest one. So that's why I start with that. And both pieces were very wiggly, so I pinned them together, and then after cutting, I basted it together so that the pieces would actually stay together as I'm stitching. Then I went to draw the end pieces and immediately placed them slightly wrong, so a corner was missing. It doesn't matter, but it still upset me. Now for the end pieces, I decided to go with Hitamezashi patterns, which are a different kind of Sashiko pattern. And for those, you just draw a 1/4-inch grid for all of them. Hi, it got really late last night, so I had to pack up. I'm going to assume my voiceover persona explained the decision-making process. Now I'm going into the big panels. I would like to base these on the idea I got from one of the projects in this book, which combines 5 different Moyozashi patterns into one. It's going to be a little bit tricky because I can't necessarily fit things the same way onto a tiny little panel. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. So I decided to start with Hitamezashi just because it felt fairly easy. You just do a 1/4-inch grid and then divide however you want it, and I decided to do diagonal lines. Now for Moyozashi patterns, the squares were much larger, so drawing them was easier. I wanted to divide the pattern the same way into diagonal thirds, but I quickly realized the repeat was actually 2 squares, so it wasn't going to work, and I changed my mind into vertical divisions. Here I take a break to show you that I used up almost an entire pen marking squares for this project. Now I cut everything out, baste everything together, and all of the pieces are finally done and ready for stitching. Oh, there we go. So this looked like a very tiny skein, but it's actually a much longer loop. Now, according to the book, I find this little knot. Oh yeah, that's just the ends. Okay. And that's where I cut the entire thing. There we go. And there we go. So the author of this book suggests stitching with the thread doubled, so it will be this length. I've seen some YouTube channels suggesting to cut in half and then it's going to be the perfect length. My assumption is that they're probably stitching single thread. So I'm going to do what the book suggests, which is keep it like so. And what the book also says to do is to lightly braid it. I have no idea what lightly braided means for a skein this tiny. Alrighty. There it is. Now what I should be able to do, assuming I did this right, is grab one of these and pull it out. Oh, it worked. Oh, that's cool. Now how do I keep this from unbraiding? What if I do this? Is that helpful? Do we think that's gonna work? I don't know. All right, let's get these two braided and ready, and then I can start stitching. I'm very happy with these. This one was my first hitomezashi, and particularly a yakukushi. It's extremely simple. And I wanted to leave it as such. I wanted to highlight the first few stitches I made. The book suggests using knots for everything, for starting and for joining. And that's what I did. This was supposed to be a simple jujizashi, which would have been only these little pluses. But I was having such a good time, I extended it into a kamizashi, which is a rice stitch, and this is a bit of a variation. Now with these two done, I'm going to do the front panel. Where is it? There it is. The middle part, I decided to do first, and I'm going to do it in a rice flower stitch because I want to do it in white. And the other two, I believe I'm going to do a chain cross stitch for one of these. That's Kusari Jujizashi. Probably pronouncing all of these wrong, bear with me. And then the final one, tortoise shell stitch variation, which is Kawari Kikozashi. Assuming I don't change my mind, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a rice flower and go from there. So this is kind of wild. I'm enjoying Sashiko so much, I woke up a couple of hours early so that I could stitch some more in the morning. I'm not a morning person. Hi. I'm awake way too early again. Hi. This is third morning in a row. This has to be some kind of record. I even did the dishes. I'm excited. I'm gonna be adding color to the second Hitomizashi pattern, so it's gonna start looking really cool. Fourth morning in a row. I didn't sleep well at all. I kept waking up every 15 minutes. So I don't know if this one even counts because it felt like being awake was better than whatever half sleep I was having. I got fairly far yesterday, so I'm quite excited. I'm hoping to finish the white stitching on this side and add some color. I'm excited about color. It's a Saturday and I still woke up early. Oh, hi. Hello. Hey, that's my feet. Don't chew on those. Thank you. Oh, I started my first, I believe, Moyozashi pattern. Hi. Hello. I have coffee breath. Yeah, it's bad. Okay, he's gone to watch the birds now. So my first Moyozashi pattern is going well. I also noticed that I did the spiral for the lighting stitch backwards. And I don't know if the one in the book is swirling a particular way for a reason or not. Maybe it doesn't matter, but maybe it does. Sashiko has a lot of cultural significance and a lot of history. This is clearly a technique that I would like to be using more. So I'm hoping that if I do more of this, I might actually do a bit more reading by Japanese authors to have a sense of the cultural significance and the symbolism behind things. It's Sunday morning, and I'm still on my bullshit horse. I need to start the big panel with my Ozashi patterns, and that takes a bit of thinking. Problem is, the cabbage is off today, and he doesn't clock in until 1 p.m. anyway. I started drawing out the hemp leaf variation, and I realized that all of the patterns are going to have the exact same diagonal lines. So I'm going to stitch those in yellow, and then I'm going to stitch the border and the divisions between the patterns in orange. I also decided that my needle spans the grid I've drawn here. I'm going to try to just stitch it. And it's a Saturday. It's been a week. I still kept up waking up early, but unfortunately I had other things to do that were in Sashiko. And thinking back, they didn't bring me any joy. Quite the opposite. And in the grand scheme of things, they ended up not mattering. I really wish I could just Marie Kondo my life. I'm getting there. I'm working on it. The good news is I caught up on editing. The bad news is I found out that a lot of the time lapses I filmed had a lot of flickering going on. So what I'm trying right now is completely manual settings. I hope it looks okay, and hopefully the time lapse for today, it's gonna look a lot better. So last time I worked on this, I really struggled. I kept making silly mistakes. I have a lot of knots in the same spot for the same color because I didn't plan ahead. I had one of my orange outlines in the wrong spot, and then I thought I made a mistake, but I didn't, so I redid it, and that was a mistake, so I had to do it again. It was just back and forth nonsense. That's where I left it. I don't have that much left. I think this part is almost done, and then I have 2 other patterns that I already forgot what they were supposed to be because I didn't write it down, so that's great. So I don't know what it is. It seems like every time I take a break to have lunch and then I come back and I mess up every stitch I make. But I did it. I finally finished. Now, what I'm gonna do, I will iron these to get all of these lines off, and then I'm gonna wash them. One more morning for good measure. The main thing I learned, I don't know how to be a beginner. I don't know what a simple project means. I don't know what a small project means. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed it. But if you're just starting out and you're feeling unsure, This is a very complex project, and mashing patterns together like this, especially the moyozashi ones, it's very tricky. You need to plan ahead, you need to think about how the lines will intersect. There's going to be all kinds of things. I will say I prefer hitomezashi patterns to moyozashi, so these are the hitomezashi patterns. They look better to me and I enjoyed the process more. I would like to try them without drawing a grid line and see if I still enjoy them just as much, because drawing out that much grid is a lot of work. And the reason why I enjoy these on top of the way they look, I also think they're a bit less thinking. You just kind of go. Versus with moyozashi patterns, you have to think about the lines intersecting and a lot of other small things where you need to make sure that the stitches go in the corners just right and all of these things. There's a few things I still haven't figured out with the moyozashi pattern. So for example, these little centers, they are bulletproof. There's so many stitches in that tiny space. There's still got to be something that one can do to make them a bit more reasonable. And I just wasn't able to figure it out on my own. So maybe I just need more practice. I learned a lot of things the hard way. At first, I really struggled with the first stitch looking really twisty. After a day or two, I realized that I need to leave a lot of string in the back. And then once I'm done with the line, just pull through all of it and all of the twistiness will stay in the back. I don't know if that's how it's normally done, but that's how it worked for me. I used modern jeans as the main fabric, so it's very stretchy and it's stretchy differently in different directions, which made for some tricky stitching. If you want an easier time, I would recommend a non-stretchy fabric. You definitely need a thimble. I didn't have a special one, so I just used a regular leather thimble and it worked just fine. Another thing I learned is you really want to try and keep a continuous line going. Especially if you're using knots, because then you end up with a bunch of knots in the same spot. So for example, here, when I was stitching the yellow diagonal lines, I did them all one at a time. So start knot, a line, and then end knot. But then I realized when I stitched all of the other ones that I could have just gone up and then down, which would have saved on knots, because right now there's a bunch of knots in these spots. And this one is even worse because you have two yellow ones and an orange. Another thing is, I know a lot of people struggle with dimensions of their piece changing as they're stitching Sashiko. Maybe I just got lucky, or maybe I just kept tugging at everything and constantly futzing with it. It was so close that it didn't even end up mattering at all for the construction of this. There's like a few spots where it's a little bit uneven, but that could just be the jeans. Now, one thing I learned after the fact that I wish I had seen before I started was that you save these little paper wrappers from your Sashiko thread skeins, and before braiding, you put them on the skein right here. So it's kind of like this. And that answers my initial question where I braided it and then I was like, well, how do you keep it together? Because it's loose on the top. Well, it's not if you put the wrapper on. In case you already went and left a comment being all angry about it, sorry, I didn't know. Originally, I was going to sew with a sewing machine, but then I treated myself to these Clover black gold needles. And I was very excited to try them out. And I'm so glad I got them. They were a delight to stitch with. That's why you saw me do these super tiny stitches, because I was just having such a good time. It was incredible. You can hardly even see them because of the stretchy denim fabric, which just brings me so much joy. So yeah, this was a long one. So thank you for sticking with me as I figure everything out, as I figure out Sashiko, as I figure out cameras, as I figure out speaking on a camera, as I figure out editing, as I figure out everything live as I go. Thank you so much. And if you're new here, consider watching my first video. It's even more derpy than this one.